This is WTF Nation Radio.
They're trying to drown you out. They're trying to drown you out. You see that? They're trying to drown you out. That's gotta be. They gotta be the Russians. They're trying to drown you out. There's the Russian embassy. What? Yeah. You guys are communicating back and forth. There we go. Yeah, they're drowning you out, buddy. Oh!
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
This is WTF Nation Radio.
And here we are at the very beginning of Friday Night Freedom. Today is the 15th day of April 2022. And the 15th day of April holds significance because it's, I guess typically it's tax day, but today's not necessarily tax day because it's going to be on the 18th. We'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. I am joined by Pooky, but if you can see in that little window up there, Pooky is a little bit frozen there, so he's going to be there he's going to be here in spirit because he just sent a message and said that his internet just died. So hopefully, if his internet doesn't work, maybe he can call me on the phone. Who knows? Anyway, here we are. Happy Friday, everybody. We got a great show tonight. Jack Williams is going to be here. Now, Jack Williams has done a lot of shit, but you don't really know. He's not really a household name. But maybe some of the bands that you listen to, like, I don't know, Blackfoot or Uriah Heep, Oak Ridge Boys, and there's a ton more. Or maybe some of the shows that you watch. Let's say, have you guys heard of Yellowstone? Yeah, you know, he's a songwriter for all these folks, man. So we're gonna get down into the weeds with Mr. Jack Williams here in just a little bit at the top of the hour, actually. So look at that. You're unfrozen, Pooky. Welcome to Friday Night Freedom.
I froze in the worst position. It looked like I was getting attacked by the computer or something.
Yeah, internet issues suck, man.
My VPN crashed is what happened.
I was just telling everybody about our guest tonight, Jack Williams. Jack Williams, look at this. Look at this great graphic.
I see.
I like that one. Yeah, today's our taxation is theft episode of Friday Night Freedom, because you know the 15th typically is tax day. I guess last year it was postponed because of the Rona, and this year it's postponed. I guess because we'll get into that. There's a couple of states that have holidays, so I'm exhausted, man. I'm exhausted. I'm tired, man. We had just a busy week.
Long week.
So I'm going to have the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be traveling. So we're not going to have a typical Friday Night Freedom show. Maybe Ice can come in and fill in for one day. Maybe Radar can fire up his broadcast beast and do a show. Who knows? So stay tuned for some details on that. I got work. My paying gig is telling me to go places, so I got to go places. So let me see. Upcoming guests. We got, we talked about Jack Williams, who's going to be on tonight at the top of the hour. Next Tuesday, not next Tuesday, like on the 26th on a Tuesday, Kevin Bigley Finally, Kevin Bigley is going to be with us. I think that show got pushed down the road because I think either Kevin or CQ got ill. I want to say CQ got ill. But anyway, Kevin Bigley's going to be with us. He'll be on the Pop Culture Warrior hanging out with CQ and Radar to discuss his acting career. Bigley is known as the rookie medic on the show Sirens, and he's also been in a lot more stuff. And then on the 3rd of May, Colleen O'Shaughnessy is going to be on Pop Culture Warrior. Voice actress Colleen O'Shaughnessy will be hanging out with CQ and Radar and Pop Culture Warrior to talk about her career as a voice actor and her latest projects. She is currently known for playing Tails on the newly released movie Sonic the Hedgehog.
Ooh, I didn't even know they were doing a new Sonic.
I did not. I don't even know. I have no idea.
I thought the first one was like a failure. I guess it was pretty good actually. So I don't know. I don't keep up with movies like that.
No, man. Hey, good luck on your surgery there, Mr. Williams.
I'm not seeing that. No?
He says, I'm getting a vasectomy on Friday the 13th at the VA. What could possibly go wrong?
That's got to be a joke.
All right, gotta look at the calendar to see if it's bullshit or not. May the 13th is a Friday.
Yikes! I would have had my surgery scheduled.
Everybody, I mean, even on Breaking Bad, Skylar was supposed to have her planned C-section on a Friday the 13th, and they postponed it to the 16th. And the only reason I know that is I started watching the latest season for not Breaking Bad. Better Call Saul came out, season 4.
I've never seen
season 4, season 5. I don't know, whatever the last one was. You've never seen it?
Watched all of Breaking. I maybe watched the first 4 episodes of Breaking Bad, and I just for some reason I just couldn't get into it.
Oh, it's so good. The thing is, it's so good. I liked it so much. I'm not saying it's good because I like a lot of crappy shows. So my opinion on a good show or a bad show probably isn't something you want to take to the bank. But I liked the Better Call Saul so much. I went back and I started rewatching Breaking Bad. They're all interconnected. You got El Camino, Breaking Bad, and Better Call Saul. They're all interconnected.
Well, I mean, someone mentioned Walking Dead, the first or second season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the second season. Daryl pulls some of that blue crystal meth out of his saddlebag out of his motorcycle.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I never got into the Walking Dead. It's just, I mean, it's like every other zombie movie. You know, the zombies go and eat the people. So
I got done with Walking Dead when it was like rinse repeat. After the 3rd season, it was like rinse repeat, rinse repeat, rinse repeat. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, my daughter tried to get me into it, and it's just it didn't catch. I mean, all shows aren't for everybody. Spanky's chiming in. She says she's looking out for House of the Dragon.
No idea what that is.
No, that's when Tyrone Lannister goes to Japan and he takes ninjutsu classes, and then he comes back and he fucks everybody up. I think. Oh, okay. I might be wrong on that. It has something to do with the. What did she do?
She said Daryl can hit
it. Anyway, House of the Dragon has something to do with was a Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, it's like they're doing like Amazon's doing like a Lord of the Rings series, and I'm just. Oh.
Hey, Matt Corey, thank you very much for hanging out with us. He's chiming in from the YouTube chat. He says, can't stay long driving right now, but y'all have a happy weekend. Happy Easter. Happy Easter to you too, sir.
You're getting a lot of people on the YouTube lately.
I know. We actually had some people on Twitch was it Ice's show on Thursday for Sergeant's Time?
Yeah.
He's conversing with someone from the Twitch, which we don't pay a whole lot of attention to, which we should, but we don't.
Yeah, could be me shamelessly plugging on Twitch. Not yeah, because I spent a lot of time on Twitch.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
That's my platform. That's my favorite platform.
Yeah. So what you got? What you got going on new, man? You got any? Do you even file taxes?
No. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. It just depends on how my capital gains and losses go. Besides like me getting a 3D printer, I mean, there's nothing crazy really going on here, man.
That's about it. You should start up an LLC and then write that off on your taxes.
I could probably. You know what? I've been talking about doing that forever. Everything I buy, I just say the business needed it.
Yeah, it's a business expense.
No.
Save a little money on the taxation of your life. I did my taxes.
Everyone should LLC themselves at some point.
Yeah, I did my taxes.
Corporations can get away with doing it.
As soon as I got all my tax info, I just did it. So it is what it is. I have them take out too much, so I don't have to pay. For a long time, I was actually trying to get within a couple of $100 of either owing or being owed. And that only lasted for a couple of years because everything changes. So I just said, screw it. Single zero exemptions, tax the crap out of me, and then I claim myself at the end of the year, and that's about it. But still, it's I'm still my after all is said and done with all the credits and debits and whatever. It's I'm still sitting around 15% of my life earning goes towards
bad.
About 15% of my life earnings go toward supporting our government.
Yeah.
I'm doing my part. And I'm paying extra for gas, and I'm paying extra for food. Everything's gone up. Now, what are they saying, like 12 or 15% as far as groceries go? I don't know, man. It's just... I just got a marriage proposal. Marry me for those sweet tax breaks. Shit. I don't care if it's an arranged thing or an understood thing. I am never, and I'm saying that, getting married again. That's just too much drama for me, dude. I cannot do that.
One and done, man.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson the first time.
I like being responsible for me, and I care for my kids. Don't get me wrong, but man, it's just I want to be. I mean, there's no surprises. If I fuck something up, it's my fault. There's no one else to point fingers at except for me, and that's the way I like it. Sorry, that's just it's just not that much money. It's not that. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Anyway, we should get probably started so we can get through these stories before our awesome guest shows up. Jack Williams is going to be here at the top of the hour, and that's going to be awesome, especially if you are a lover of music. I'm just amazed at this guy's life. He was a force recon Marine back in the 70s, got out, became a chef, and while he was a chef, he was also a roadie. And then walked up to a bunch of people that had jackets with a band named The Who, and said, "Hey, how do I talk to Roger Daltrey?" And that's like when his stuff started taking off, man. So his bio is just, it reads like a novel. Like, no way this happened to a single human being. Sure enough, it did. So yeah, we'll get to talk to Mr. Williams here shortly. So, like I was saying, tax day, taxation is theft. That's my tax day song. So tax day
roads.
Huh? But yeah, the roads. Who's going to keep up the roads? I think what they ought to do is just everybody pay like 11% in taxes. Whatever you make, pay 11%. No deductions.
I'm big on the federal sales tax, consumption tax. I'm big on that. Like, everyone pays 10%. You spend more, you pay more. Simple as that. It works in many of states like Texas, Florida. They get plenty of income by doing that.
Yes,
and you don't have to have the IRS.
Yeah, Travis, but kind of hear me out here. If everybody paid, and this is my idea, this is Koz's idea, and it's just basically, it's nothing new. It's a flat tax idea, just like 11%. And I just pulled that number out of my ass. I have no idea what 11% is going to give us. But everybody, regardless of income, whatever you make, pay 11% on it. Pay it quarterly, pay it monthly, pay it whatever. 11% of your income goes to taxes. There are no deductions. If there are no exemptions, everybody in the United States will do their taxes on one sheet of paper. That is it. How much did you make? This is how much you owe. Either write us a check or it comes out of your paycheck or, whatever. 11%. If you happen to pay more than 11%, we're going to give you a refund. Other than that, everyone pays 11%. I don't care who you are. If you're a private individual, a corporation, or whatever, everybody pays 11%. I think that would be fine. And I think it would more than pay for everything, because there are so many people out there that are going and opening up LLCs and stuff like that just, to write everything off on their taxes, write off business expenses and write off for this. And they hide money in different countries and different banks, and there'll be none of that. So,
I totally agree with that.
So tax day for 2022 is officially, it's on Monday, the 18th. April 19th for Maine and Massachusetts, because they have Patriot Days in Patriots Day in those states. So those are holidays. So while the deadline is normally April 15th, it was pushed back because of the Washington, D.C. holiday of Emancipation Day. Taxpayers who request an extension will have till October 17th to file. There are also exceptions to the federal deadline for some areas that have suffered natural disasters, like severe storms or wildfires. The IRS lists tax relief information and counties with the extended May 16th deadline. So, can't name all of those right now, but please consult the IRS website for more information for those special circumstances.
Don't call them.
Don't call them. You'll be on hold for like 45 minutes.
No, you'll be on hold for like 3 days.
Oh, God. No, I had to call last year. I was on hold. That was the only time I've ever called the IRS. I was on hold for 45 minutes. And it was just a stupid, because it did take a long time for me to get my refund. And like an unusually long time. So I wanted to call just to see where's my shit. So as I was filling out my taxes this year, and as I'm reading about, tax day, because this happens every year, where does our money go in that big pie chart of life, of the enormity of the government budget, I want to see a pie chart. Where does all our money go to? So, of course, I use TurboTax, no, not a plug, but the TurboTax has a breakdown of where our cash goes, which is kind of cool. It is kind of cool. So, where does our money go? Defense and security, 16%. 16% of the federal budget is for defense and security. Social Security, 23%. Health.
Oh, you're looking at the whole thing. Okay,
yeah.
I got you.
Health.
I was about to say.
Yeah. Health programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and CHIP account for 25%, a quarter of the entire federal budget. There's a safety net category. Safety net means unemployment, food stamps, low-income housing, programs for abused or neglected children, and that is 9%. The number 9 of the entirety of the federal budget. Interest on debt. 8% of the federal budget goes towards interest.
That's about to go up.
Which is going. The cost of borrowing money is going up. Is anybody out there buying a house right now? What are mortgage rates at? Are they?
They're 5% right now.
I knew that they were. I knew that they were creeping above 4, but they're above 5 now, huh?
To buy a house right now would be just ridiculously stupid at that point. I'm just gonna put that out there. That's just my opinion, financial opinion. I'm not an expert.
See, I remember I've always been, I think the most I've ever spent was in the sixes. I want to say 6.9%. The lowest I spent on interest is probably right now. I got my house for 1.99%.
Yeah.
You
got in at a good time. Lasted, never mind, I'm not going to get in that. I just feel bad for these people that are buying homes with a 5% interest rate, and the Fed's talking about knocking interest even further up. So you might be looking at 10% on houses here in the future. Good luck refinancing.
I remember my dad bitching about he was paying 12% on his house when I lived in Indiana. Because I remember him just complaining about it. The thing is, back in that time, that was probably in the 70s. You can get a nice house for $40,000.
Yeah, but the 70s, isn't that like Carter time frame when everything was just batshit crazy?
Yeah, that was a Carter presidency. My dad hated Jimmy Carter just because of his policies and just I have turned into my father. 'Cause I found myself bitching about a lot of things. So I see where 8% interest. Federal retirees and military veterans account for 9% of the federal budget. So that total is 90%. So the remaining 10% is earmarked. It's not even earmarked. That's just the category that it's in. Is scientific, medical research, transportation, infrastructure, education, foreign support, and all that wraps up the last 10% of the Fed budget.
Okay. That 10% to spend the money how we want to, laundering through other countries and free benefits kind of ordeal.
I mean, but nowhere in here do they say, okay, we need to print more money. And that has a lot to do with the inflation that we're seeing right now. You can't blame it on Putin. I don't care who you are. You print a lot of money and you flood the market with a lot of American dollars. Guess what? The value of things is going to go down.
Inflation is good for only one kind of people. It's people who have a lot of debt. No, it's really good because the debt stays the same. It's just now you got more money to pay your debt off. Like college loan kids complaining about your college loans just got cheaper. Now you got to pay more for food and stuff, but.
How's that? I mean, if the rate, I mean, their rates are locked in at, I want to say a student loan is probably 6%, probably around 6%, maybe more.
Say you owe like $30,000 in student debt, and okay, say that whatever the dollar was valued when you took that loan. Now, say you get like 12% inflation for some weird reason.
Yeah.
Your loan that you took out back when the dollar was more valuable is now 12% cheaper.
If the value of
the dollar, I mean, yeah, there's more dollars circling around, so it's the way it works. It makes no sense, but people who have massive amounts of debts, inflation is really good for them.
Yeah, I mean, debt is good, I guess, for a country. I guess the amount of debt that we're seeing in this country is not good.
No, it's not good at that point.
It's not good right now. I mean, every country needs to have debt so they have a working relationship to whoever they owe money to. So there's this friendliness among people. But at the rate that we're digging this hole is just massive, massive, massive. So one of the interesting questions that I came across on the frequently asked questions, the FAQ, was was regarding cryptocurrency, because I recently started getting into cryptocurrency and buying and selling and whatnot. And the question was, do I need to claim my crypto transactions in my taxes? And it was a great question, and the answer is, it all depends. And I'm like, well, that sucks. So just buying and holding crypto is not a taxable event. But if you sold your crypto or use them to buy something like on crypto.com they have, and I'm sure other brokerage firms have, like you can get some kind of crypto card of whatever color, and you can, your balance in crypto is there, and then you can buy things like pizzas and coffees and trips and stuff using that. So if you use that those are taxable events. And right now, this year, the system, and I say that in air quotes, isn't really set up to track that. They do track that, but they don't consolidate it so you can do your taxes at the end of the year. So anyway, if you use crypto, or if you're paid in crypto, you have to report those. You're supposed to report those. Virtual currencies are taxed as property or as an investment when you sell them. To make matters even more confusing, using them to buy something technically counts as selling. So you will be subject to capital gains taxes when you use them. If you're paid in Bitcoin or other crypto, on the other hand, that is also treated as taxable income. So will income earned from either mining or staking.
How are they going to track mining?
Exactly. And that was my question. How are they going to track mining? Staking is all you do. You just say, okay, I'm going to take these, 3 million coins of whatever.
Yeah, I stake crypto all the time, where I just like lock it in place and they're saying, oh, here's 5% interest.
Exactly.
I get more interest off it than my savings account at the bank. So
yeah. I do the, I'm on crypto.com, and I have like a 500 million SHIB coins. Which is cool because it went up. It was like hovering around like 5 zeros, like 0.00007 or so was when I bought in, and it shot up to, it dropped to 0, and now we're up to almost 0.00003 cents per. So I went from having a balance of $2,000, and it took off last year, and my balance of $2,000 shot up to around $40,000, and I was like, "Holy God, today's the day!" Woo!
Yeah, I wish I would have listened to you early on that, because I was just kind of like, I was still on the douche train. I was like, yeah, I don't know about that sheep thing, and I finally saw it. I was like, I'll just throw some cash at it. And I was like, ooh, this was a good. Like the other day, I was like, that was a good investment.
So yeah, it shot up. I mean, mine's sitting around 12 grand right now, but still, every cent that I cashed out my my initial investment, so I got that back. So everything that's in my wallet it's all free until I decide to sell it, at which point I'll have to pay capital gains, which is. Since I've had it for more than a year, it's considered a long-term capital gain, and I think it's only taxed at like 20 or 25%.
So like day traders, for instance, let's say they have like Robinhood, and they say, hey, I'm going to sell said stock but reinvest said stock. I never see a penny of it, no? Because Robinhood is kind of like I guess, I don't know how to say it, like a mutual fund kind of thing that I can control. So I never saw a penny of it, but I sold and reinvested. I never got. So did I have a capital gain at that point?
It's from what I understand, yes. That is because you sold it, took your profits, and then reinvested it, which is great, but still you made money on that, and you're supposed to pay capital gains on that.
I did make money. Robinhood made money.
They make money too. So starting next year, and this is the change that's coming next year, your crypto activities will be subject to third-party reporting, meaning that both you and the IRS will get the same tax form. So you're going to get an 1199, I guess. I think it's an form 1199, 1199 or 1198.
No one sent me any tax forms this year.
I didn't get any. I got none. So I didn't report any. So you're going to be getting, and the IRS is going to be getting the same form regarding your sales and your income through crypto.
That's why you just need to buy it and throw it on a wallet somewhere.
So Spanky's has a good point, and I've got a little bit of a dog in the fight of the student loans, and we've talked about this on numerous occasions, as recently as a few weeks ago. She says, you know what I think the government should do with the student loans? Not wipe them out, but stop charging these kids interest, at least for the federally backed loans. Let them borrow to go to school and then pay it back interest free. Or make it like 1%. Just lock it in at 1%, as long as you're in good standing. If you're not in good standing, maybe bump it up to 3%. Because I mean, it costs money to lend money. I mean, the lenders ought to get paid for their services, right? And they do. They do.
I got a 100% way to fix this issue.
Tell me.
Hold the universities accountable for handing out BS freaking education, pretty much.
Don't charge $90,000 for a bachelor's degree in something that's completely useless, and you have.
Yeah. I mean,
there ought to be a ratio. There ought to be a ratio. The cost of the education ratioed against the potential income for having that job. It shouldn't cost any more than whatever that ratio is. Let some math genius figure that out.
But it's just ridiculous. Like, okay, I know the whole concept of a well-rounded education, kind of like when you go for an engineering degree, you need to take English. You definitely need your math, like some weird science or something like that. But they'll tack on these stupid classes onto some of these degrees that make absolutely no sense for
art appreciation.
Gender studies or something like that, and they'll only offer that. So now I got to go pay $10,000 for a class to get from some professor that's pretty much just, it's a pyramid scheme at this point. Huh? So they need to go, instead of charging these kids, stop all the interest and say, hey, you guys get handed out a BS. This is a BS crap, and hold the universities responsible. And especially since they were pretty much doing predatory lending to these kids. They're 18, 19 years old. No advice from their parents, because parents just don't want to be in their kids' lives anymore. But they get these kids roped into, political science is great. And then it's kind of like the joke about political science. Like, okay, what do I do with a political science degree? You teach political science. Okay, well, so I teach political science to who? People who will teach political science. It's just, it's a pyramid scheme at that point. Huh?
See, if I, when I talk to kids, and we do trade shows and things like that, I tell the kids, if you want to be a teacher, great. What do you want to teach? I want to teach math. Okay, here's an idea. Go and get an engineering degree. Because with an engineering degree, you can go into a high school and teach math.
As long as you have the license.
But if you can't, you can't go and get an education degree and then be an engineer. I mean, kind of overshoot. And if you want to be a teacher, that's awesome. We need teachers. We need good teachers.
But another thing too is they talk about student loan, forgiveness and stuff like that. Anyone who took a STEM, education, kind of STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, or whatever it is, things that will help society, they should be all right, yeah, you did a medical field, okay, we're going to forgive this. Oh, you went for engineering, we're going to forgive this. The people who went and said, hey, I want a master's in medieval poetry, you're on your own at that point. Those are the instances where the university needs held accountable for that.
Or all these athletes in college that play football, they're all into what do? They do physical education degrees, or they do something physical therapy.
Physical therapy. A lot of them go into sports
medicine. Sports medicine. Yeah.
I mean, that will pay. You get out. It will pay. If you're not a good football player, you don't make it to the NFL. You can go into the NFL doing sports medicine crap, huh?
Or work for a college doing sports medicine, or a high school, or work at a clinic, or open up your own.
Medicine is medicine. Medical is medical at that point. Engineering is engineering. Anything dealing with technology and science, that's what we need to focus on. We don't need these, like I said, underwater basket weaving degrees floating around all over the place. Everyone's got an opinion, but no one knows anything.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer, and I think the cost of education, and I've said this many times, the cost of education has far outpaced the value of that education. When it costs you $90,000 for a bachelor's degree right now, which is about the average.
You can spend $10,000, take a 2-year trade school, and pay that off, and be well better off than most of these kids getting out of school with a $90,000 debt. No?
So just talking about that, a couple of years ago, I finally paid off my student loans. I'm free and clear on that. Yay me! And that was awesome. That was $40,000 for a bachelor's. I graduated in 2001, and it took me almost 17 years and some months to pay off that debt. So both of my kids, one's an esthetician, the other one's a chef. I just sent the last payment for my last child, so their educations are paid for, and my education is paid for, and so I just got a $500 a month pay raise. Woo-hoo!
Yeah,
kind of offset a little bit of the inflation that we're experiencing right now.
A friend of mine been paying her on her student loan debt for 20 years, and she owes more now that she borrowed. Yeah, that's how interest gets you.
Yeah, I always, and I went into, what do they call that, deferment? Because, I had lost jobs and then got jobs back, and then, not making a whole lot of money, so I went into deferment, but I still paid the interest down, so there's no surprises. And my rates were, wow, I think they were 6%. 6%? No, 3%. I think it was 3% for one and something else for another. It was really low, 2 and 3%. But now kids are paying like 6%.
That's insanity.
Or more, and it's more. If you get a private loan, you could be paying 10, 11% on a freaking loan for an education. That's insane.
I know after getting out of the military, I had some massive credit card debt, and it was hard to get a job after getting out, and I just kind of said, screw it, I ain't paying these. And after about 3-4 years, they sent me a 1099 Charlie in the mail, because most of the places said, okay, well, we're just going to write this off as an IRS write-off, and that's considered income at that point. I wound up paying less, way less. It was like, I think it was like, it went from like $45,000 because they hit me with interest and stuff like that to like, I think it was like $9,000 I owed, but I owed the government.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's I'm not telling anyone to do that. But do that.
My ex-wife used to be a university professor, and one of the perks for her being a university professor was family members can go to school for free, which is family members can go to school for free. All I had to do was buy my books. So we did that after the first year. The value of that education was added to our income. So we had to pay.
You got a 1099 on that.
Yeah, we had to pay the taxes on that being added to our income. Crazy.
Ain't nothing free.
Nothing is free.
But when people say, "Oh, it's free healthcare," there's no such thing as free. No such thing as a free lunch.
So I guess we can go talk about like employment and stuff. Do you know any assholes? Do you know any assholes? You just look at that person and you're like, that guy's an asshole.
Spent 10 years in the army. Plenty of assholes. Yes, anything that's free, anything that is forgiven debt wise is considered earned income.
Yeah, I mean, if your college debt, let's say you owe $100,000 in college debt, and all of a sudden, poof, it's gone. It's like you just made $90,000 that year.
I was telling people, I've been preaching this to people. It's like, you keep saying, forgive our debt. Well, according to the IRS code, say if you're $100,000 in debt, that year you made $100,000. So you're going to receive a 1099 I think it's a 1099 Charlie in the mail.
I think so.
Saying, hey, you owe this much money. You've earned this much money. This is earned income. So now that say, oh, the government said, oh, we're going to forgive your debt. Well, the IRS is going to be like, well, you owe us money. So now you owe $100,000 that. Well,
you don't owe $100,000. You might owe,
90,000, whatever. Once you get your tax credit or whatever tax bracket you fall into or whatever it is, whatever your, but they'll forgive a certain amount of it, and then you owe the rest, and now you owe the IRS, and they want their money now, or they're going to charge you interest while you pay it.
Yeah, but the interest, the interest on that is a lot less than what these kids are paying right now.
Well, yeah, but the IRS will charge you interest daily.
Ew, that's not good. Ew.
It's crazy. Like, I literally owed them $9,000, and it took me almost 4 years to pay that off, and I was giving them $400 a month.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like a $400 or $500 check every month.
Yeah, and I had to, because they're like, oh, well, we can arrest you.
They can arrest you. They can garnish your wages. You'll never be able to get a federal loan for anything, and that includes mortgages.
Or they could raid your house and shoot your dog.
Businesses, you can't open up a business.
Yep. You can't open a license. Yes.
They got you by the short curlies, man. So anyway, we're going to talk about assholes, right? Not like buttholes or anything, but the researchers from the University of Georgia say that the most likely people to be the biggest assholes in someone's life are middle-aged men. Just to be clear, however, that they aren't the only individuals who display the signs of assholery. The team surveyed nearly 400 people, asking them to think of the biggest asshole in their life and the personality traits that they displayed regularly. Respondents most often claim that these people were manipulative, aggressive, and had a sense of entitlement about them. People didn't really...
Kenny's?
What's that?
Karens and Kens?
Kens and Karens, Clydes or Kyles? Kyle? What a Kyle?
Kyles and Karens, yeah.
People didn't really have much trouble figuring out who the biggest asshole in their life was, says author Brinkley Sharp. Along with certain middle-aged men, the survey found that half of the biggest asshole respondents know personally are their exes, their old bosses, or even an estranged family member. If you want to read more about the assholes in your life, go to studyfinds.org and just search for assholes. I wasn't gonna read the entire article, which is pretty funny, so I kind of added that last sentence there. So studyfinds.org, they got a lot of cool studies there. But if they do have a search box, and if you type in the word asshole, that particular study is going to show up. You got tickled there a little bit.
No, because that's the last thing I'm going to just search on the interwebs. I'm just going to type in asshole. I want to see how many raccoons can fit in a human's anus or some crap.
Oh, Shelley says the biggest pussy whiners I ever worked with were white middle-aged men. There are a lot of people that just do nothing but complain.
I don't like to throw race into that, but I will say that, it's usually middle-aged men that are the biggest pieces of crap, I think.
A lot of entitlement. There is a lot of entitlement
It's usually management. It's usually management. I will put it there. I have met some really shitty management. And I've always said forever and a day, it's like people don't quit jobs, they quit management. And like you're running your business bad, you're poorly, you quit the job because you're sick of, like you said, asshole here making my life a living hell for no reason.
Yeah, I don't think I did quit a job, but it was because of opportunity. That was I've only quit one job in my life. I've held several jobs, but I've only turned in a 2-week notice on one job, not counting the military. I ETS'd. That was it was a pre-written 2-week notice. Or 30-day notice, I guess, because it took me 30 days to clear post. But I've never, ever quit a job. I've always been blessed with having, fairly good management, fairly good direction, a lot of interference between me and the big boss. And it's the same situation right now. I mean, we do what we do. We get the job done, and I've got several layers of supervision between me and the super big boss. So that's a good thing to have. Boss has our backs. We make him look good, and that's what our job is. We got to finish. We have to do our tasks and stuff to make him look good, and then he's got to make sure that these tasks are done to make himself look good. And that just all goes up the chain, I guess. So there's another set of assholes, and they're in California, and they're gang members and stuff. More than a dozen Los Angeles gangs are targeting some of the city's wealthiest residents in a new and aggressive manner, sending out crews in multiple cars to find, follow, and rob people driving high-end vehicles or wearing expensive jewelry. In many cases, they're making off with designer handbags, diamond-studded watches, and other items worth tens of thousands of dollars, if not more. And then they peddle them back to the black market to buyers who are willing to turn a blind eye to that underlying violence. In most cases where an arrest has been made, and this is what kind of pisses me off, the accused is released after processing only to commit additional robberies. For example, a man named Cheyenne Hale, age 25, he's the guy on the left, was arrested this month on suspicion of participating in an armed robbery of a man in downtown Los Angeles. This happened in October, in which 2 watches estimated to be worth about $600,000 were stolen. Who the hell wears a $300,000 watch? Police say
$300,000 watch that doesn't carry a pistol on it blows my mind at that point. Huh?
Yeah, during California.
Oh.
Police say that they recovered a loaded gun from Hale during his arrest, and that detectives in the unit later found 7 additional handguns, $21,000 in cash, a large quantity of drugs, including cocaine and methamphetamine, and they found all that stuff when they served a search warrant at Hale's home. Nonetheless, Hale, who could not be reached for comment, has since been released from custody, according to court records.
I'm looking at that picture. I'm very confused.
How's that?
Detachable magazines on AR-15s are illegal in California.
Detachable magazines?
Yeah, they have to have that weird box magazine where you got to break everything down and actually set the rounds into it. So I see 1, 2, 3 30-round magazines. Those are illegal. The law should have stopped this from happening.
They need more laws.
They just need more laws at this point, I guess.
So another example, I have another example, is 18-year-old Matthew Adams. Now, I don't know which person in this picture that is. I'm going to assume that it's the third guy, the guy all the way to the right in the black hoodie. Adams was involved in 8 separate follow-off robberies over a 6-month period starting last fall, including one in which 2 UCLA students were robbed of 2 watches. Okay, college students here. College students that probably can't pay their student loans. These 2 UCLA students were robbed of 2 watches worth nearly $145,000 after leaving a club. A second in which 2 foreign tourists were robbed of watches worth $73,000 each. And a third in which $51,000 in property was stolen. These guys really like the bling, man. During the course of the 8 robberies, which occurred between September 2021 and February of 2022, Adams was arrested 3 times. The first time was on January 9th, when he was found in a car that had been used in one of the robberies and where a gun was also found. Online court records show no charges were ever filed against Adams in that case, suggesting that prosecutors were unconvinced that they could get a conviction. So they just dropped everything. Adams was arrested again on the 27th of January, and then a third time on February 21st. And in both of those cases, charged with illegal gun possession. Court records show that he was ordered released each time without even having to pay bail. This catch and release program in California is pretty awesome, right? I'm sure this is not only happening in California. I mean, that's, LA and stuff is pretty, high end.
This happening here in my county in South Carolina really heavily. Horry County. I'm gonna put you on blast for this. But yeah, like dude will straight up murder someone, and they'll be like, "Oh well, you're released on bail," and they give them bail money, and they turn around and kill someone else. So yeah, it seems like an issue going on here. Go look, Google murder beach and see what shows up. Just telling you right now.
It's an interesting. I mean, how far away from what is that big Gulf? It's like the oldest. It's one of the oldest businesses in the United States. It's located in South Carolina. It's a resort. The Colonial? No, not Colonial's here.
You got Huntington Beach.
No, there's like a government bunker in there. That's, oh my gosh. I keep on. I forget.
Sumter?
Say again?
Sumter?
No.
I don't know.
Good day from Australia. What's up, Michael? Thank you for tuning in. It's what, morning time there? Yeah, I can't remember what that. It's oh my gosh. Google, you're my Google partner, so just like Gulf Resort, South Carolina, and then just start reading them off.
Golf Resort.
Golf Resort. They have lots of golf tournaments there and stuff.
That's Golf Resort, South Carolina. Are you thinking about Augusta, the Masters?
That's not Augusta.
Litchfield Beach?
No. I can't. I don't know.
A lot of our golf places have been shut down around here because they're trying to develop houses faster than golf is worth it.
Housing. 11 a.m. in Australia. Well, thanks for being here, Michael.
Kauai Island?
No.
Isle of Palms?
No. It's like one word. You say that one word, and there's like a government. There's like literally before Iron Mountain, there's a government, like they would escape from Washington to there. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, just out there, just watch your back, man. You kind of know if you're being followed, and just be aware of your surroundings. I always carry. So if you're in a state that's friendly for that, do it. Keep something. 25 states now have constitutional carry laws.
There's a guy I follow on TikTok. He does a lot of live streaming, but he's got like an electric bike. He rides around like Skid Row, LA area. Mm-hmm. And one morning he was riding around, and I was just watching him because he's seeing the crazy amount of homelessness. That it's not new, but it's been there for a while. But he rolls up to this dude standing in what looks like a $30,000 suit, wearing a watch, whatever it is. He's drunk. His girlfriend's like wearing dang near nothing. And he rolls up. He's like, "What the heck are y'all doing here this time of night?" He's because he goes around trying to catch news and stuff.
Stonebriar. Sorry.
Stonebriar. I've never heard of it. But no, he's like, "Dude, you guys need to get out of here like now." He's like, "Them people across the street are looking to rob you," and you can see like just
you're fixing to get rolled.
Yeah, and he's like, "You need to get out of here quick. You need to get out of here quick." And he's like, "We're trying to. It's like he's like, "How the hell did you? Oh, we got drunk and lost." I was like, "You're about to die at this point." That's how bad it's getting in LA. So,
wow. So Jack just sent a message saying, "Hello." I guess he's ready to go. So I think we ought to. Take a break. We ought to take a break. Let me grab this. So I'm gonna bring Jack into the show. We are going to take a bit of a break, and then when we come back, we're gonna have Jack Williams is gonna be with us, and it's gonna be awesome. So hang tight, everybody. We're gonna take a very short break, and we are going to be back very, very quickly.
This is WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
lost all my patience and forgotten laughter, serving out my sentence, waiting for the rapture. Nothing good will come, 'cause our poison word is pure. Just a nobody who will never find a cure. I can't reason with myself. I'll never make it back. The past is in the rearview. I'm always losing track. Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go from here? Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go from here? Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go from here? Where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go as you
WTF Nation Radio.
More than chaos. We can work with fear.
That's better. Now it's working.
Okay, it just might have been just a weird hiccup or something like that.
Yeah,
huh?
now it's working great.
All right, everybody,
Oh,
we're
you look
back
way
with
better.
the second half of Friday Night Freedom, and we are joined by the awesome Jack Williams. Dude, thank you very much for being a part of the show tonight. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Oh, me too.
Me
Me too.
Let me get your video pulled up here. I got to figure out how to do this. And properties, got to bring you in here. This is going to be super awesome. Oh, where did it go? There he is. There he is. There he is. Looking good as dude, you even look like a rock star. How about that? Jack Williams, oh my gosh, I got this little write-up for you. Please do me the honor of listening. From the United States Marine Corps Force Recon in the 70s to a beautiful Nashville, Tennessee home today, Jack Williams has made his mark on the world. As an accomplished musician, songwriter, and composer, Jack has helped write music for some of the serious household name bands. And he's with us tonight, and please extend a warm WTF Nation welcome to Jack Williams. Thank you for joining us, sir. I appreciate your time.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I was looking forward to this. I was really looking forward to this.
Well, thank you very much. So the very first thing, it says Force Recon Marine. Tell me about your military experience. Not the whole thing, but I mean, Cliff Notes version.
Well, it has to do with it all goes into my songwriting because as we've talked about, or I've talked about a lot, my album Halfway to Hell is all about abuse and child abuse, and it's aimed at that, and I was a victim of that, and I joined the Marines at 17 years old on my birthday, on my 17th birthday, and I joined the Marines to get away from that. That was the only way I could figure out. It was either that or go to jail, and I didn't want to do that. So I joined the Marines, and I was hoping to make my dad proud. And then once I got in the Marines, silly thing, when they came back with my MOS, my initial MOS, it was to be a dispersing clerk. It was to be like a banker. Go figure. And I went, no. I want to be a grunt. And I want to go to jump school. and I want to do that. Well, okay, you have to volunteer for that, and I did. And
And this is right at the trailing edge of the Vietnam War.
It was, and so to make a long story short, after I went through all that, I was on my way to Vietnam, and back in those days, just before you went to Vietnam, you had a couple weeks leave at home. You went home, and I did, and when I came back, my CO at Camp Pendleton said to me, there's been a mix-up in D.C. and there's 2 sets of orders for you on my desk. And I'm going to walk out and smoke a cigarette. And when I come back, whatever set of orders is there is where you're going. And one set was to Hanoi and the other one was to Hawaii. And something came down and hit my head and my soul, my creative soul, and said, don't go get yourself killed. And I just tore up the one to Vietnam and went to Hawaii, and he came back and said, okay, you're going to Hawaii and you're going to work over there for a while. So I still was in recon, but I just didn't have to go get myself killed, and which, looking back at those days, it was probably a right decision, even though it was a creative decision, so I could do my writing and my songwriting and my songs,
So you started writing way before your career. I mean, it's not like you just decided to start writing and all of a sudden, boom, your career shot off. It's like you've been writing for a long time.
I was writing poetry when I was in high school.
Right on.
And I was playing guitar. We had a Beatles band. We had a band that did all the Beatles songs and the Rolling Stones songs, and I was writing poetry, but I hadn't put it together. I hadn't put together that this guitar and this poem makes a song. All I knew is that I could play guitar and I could write poetry, and I only wrote poetry is because it seemed to be a good way to get the girls.
I was gonna throw that down there.
Yeah, man, I was shy. I was shy as hell. So I if I saw this pretty girl, I would just go and drop a poem on her lap and go, for you, and it would be this, oh man, I mean, from a distance, you're so pretty, on and on and on, and it seemed to work. And so
there were 18 other girls with the same poem in their lap too.
Well, I don't know about that, but so at that point, do you remember a song called "You Keep Me Hanging On" from the Vanilla Fudge?
Yes.
I asked my dad. I had a guitar, but I wanted an organ, so we got an old C3 organ, and I learned to play that, and I ended up in a little band, and I played the school prom, and that was really cool because, oh wow, they like musicians. So, as every musician, if they're honest, will tell you that early days was the girls liked the guys that play guitars and keyboards and drums, and you either were a jock or you were a musician. And so I wasn't, as you can see, I wasn't big enough to be a jock, but I did make it to be a musician, and so I just wanted to do that. I didn't know back then, honestly, I didn't know back then that that's what my calling was. I just knew I loved to do it.
So you love music from an early age. From what I've researched, your dad was you're going to learn how to do country. He was a country guy.
My whole family my dad's family was from West Virginia, and he was from he had 8 brothers, 3 sisters, he had 1 older brother. His name was Everett.
That's a big
Williams.
family.
They called him Hank. And he was he had a Louisiana hair ride that Hank Williams was actually on, and so was Ernest Tubb and all. And so I got introduced to all that as a very, very early age. The very first record I can remember was I had a Hank Williams record, "I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry," and I remember hearing that, and I remember I loved that music. And I loved everything about music, but I also had a little transistor radio that was in my head. And on that radio was She wore an itsy bitsy teeny weeny
Yellow
polka dot bikini, and Ray Charles, What I Say, do 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 do, and I was like, I can't. That stayed in my head, and I think that's what made me love music from a very early age.
So you got out of the Marine Corps, you went back to your home, and you went and trained as a chef.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I got married about 21 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I needed a job. And so there was an ad in the paper, and it said Broiler Man wanted, and I had no idea what that was. I knew, I mean, it was in the restaurant section.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is a Broiler Man? So I applied for it, and I met a chef, and we were in my interview, and he said, "Can you cook a steak?" And I said, "Well, hell yeah." Who can't? And he went, "How do you cook a steak?" I said, "I throw it on the grill." And he said, "Well, how do you know if it's done?" I go, "I cut it open and look at it." He went, No. He said, "You go, that's rare, that's well done, and somewhere right around in there is medium." Exactly. And he said, "Now you want the job? You want to be my broiler man?" And I said, "Yeah." And so he hired me, and I loved it. It was like I had this job that I was in charge of all the steaks and chops and fish, and I was like I wore my hat. I had my whites on, and I wore my cowboy hat and a bandana, and I was like Mr. Cool Broiler Man at the Neal House, and I just loved every minute of it. It was, and then a band came through, and I saw this band, and they were called Law. And then in Ohio, they were the biggest cover band in Ohio, and they had a black singer, a black bass guitar player, a white drummer, and a white guitar player, and they owned the South. I mean, they owned the East Coast. And I went and saw them, and they were struggling with their gear, and I asked if they needed a roadie, and they said, "Can you help us out?" And that was it. I jumped on, and I would work at the Neal House on the weekdays, and on the weekends I went and worked with these guys, and I ended up writing a song with them that went on their very first record in 1973, and that was the beginning of it.
So you're kind of serving two masters. You like to cook, and that was your thing at the time, but you never lost your love for music. And you've always, and in reading your bio, you've always kept that in your life. Always writing, always trying to be creative as far as that goes. When did you decide that songwriting was your thing? That was it. If you can't serve two masters, so you chose, at one point, you chose songwriting.
Well, that's it. I came to a crossroads because they were both equal.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was equal. I love cooking, and they're both creative, and they're both, I think what makes both these cooking and songwriting, I think what makes them so great is they're both instantaneous gratitude. You can cook something for somebody, have them over for dinner, and you can cook a great dinner or restaurant, whatever, and they'll go, "Man, this is great. This tastes so great." You can play somebody a song, and they go, "Oh man," instant. You don't have to wait till next week. And I got to a point where I had to make a decision because I had gone so far with my cooking that I was a part of the Chefs Association in the state of Washington. I had gotten 3 stars. I had done all this cool stuff, but I was still writing songs. And I had this opportunity to, well, if I go this way, I might get a job I might be able to get into the political, like working at the governor's mansion or maybe even the White House, whatever. Or if I go this way, I'm going to write songs and maybe I might get somebody else to sing my song. And I chose songwriting, but I've never stopped cooking ever. I still love to cook for everybody.
Cooking is great because, I mean, you can write a song and love that song, but you can make a dish, and this is my favorite dish every time.
That's right.
Without fail.
Cooking is my passion.
I love cooking. I love cooking forever. And I've got a pot of bones on the stove right now. I'm starting to make a demi-glace, and I just do it because I wanted to do it. I wanted to make a demi-glace, and I started a pot of bones, and I don't know why, but it's just part of, that creative thing.
So what kind of music did you listen to growing up?
Well, I listened to country when I was a kid. Of course, my mom always had country music on the radio, and I listened to original country all my life. And it wasn't until I was in the Marines, and then I heard Led Zeppelin. And when I heard Led Zeppelin, my world changed.
Well, the songwriting in Led Zeppelin is just phenomenal, isn't it?
To this day, my world changed with Led Zeppelin. I lost you.
I'm still here.
Okay. My world changed when I heard Led Zeppelin 1, and that was it. I wanted to do that kind of music. Oops, stop. My phone is answering me. That was it. That changed everything. And then from there, of course, I heard Deep Purple and Uriah Heep, and I just fell in love with those bands and their music and their songwriting and the weight. And I fell in love with organ. I fell in love with the B3 organ. I fell in love with everything about that stuff, and I wanted to do that. And that was the path I was on then.
So you're working at a restaurant, and your bio says you kind of chased down some folks from The Who?
Yeah. I didn't chase them down. I
just walked up to them.
I was on my way to work. I was living in Atlanta. I had Crystal, my daughter, was probably, I don't know, 9 months old, 8 months old, something like that. And I was a sous chef of a place called the Abbey, which is still a restaurant in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on my way there. I had my whites on. I had everything, Chef Jack, blah, blah, blah. And I passed by the hotel, and there was all these guys outside with these blue jackets on, and it looked like just part of something, but I didn't know what. I didn't know they were tour jackets, and I slowed down, and I saw on the back it said The Who. And so I pulled in, and I parked, and I had a little demo of something I had done, and I walked up to the first guy I saw, who we are still today the best friends ever, Doug. And I walked up to him, and I said, what's the chances of meeting Roger Daltrey? And he said, slim and none. And I turned around and said, okay. And I was headed off to work, and he went, well, wait a minute. Why are you asking this question? And I went, because, I wasn't a pretty little girl that was going gaga. Why does this guy want to meet? And I said, I'm a songwriter. He went, well, wait a minute. Roger loves songwriters. I mean, seriously, let me make a call. And he called up to Roger, and Roger said he was busy, but he said, get him a room, have him hang out. I'll catch up with him later. Okay? And later was 4 months later.
They didn't pay for a room for 4 months.
Oh, they took me on the road with them, and I stayed on the road with them for 4 months.
Oh, man.
Until Roger and Pete finally sat down with me and listened to my songs and signed me to my first contract.
That's like the definition of right place, right time.
Yeah. And, beyond that, I think looking back now, that's also the definition of saying I want this no matter what. Because I mean, I had a wife that said she was going to leave me. I had a job that had fired me. I had everybody in the world saying, we don't want no more part of you. And I'm going, I'm doing this because this is what my heart tells me to do. And I don't think I've ever changed from that moment.
So have you always just played guitar, or you play keys as well?
I play a little organ.
Little organ. What's your? I'm guessing. I mean, looking at your wall, your guitar is your thing. What's your favorite guitar?
This one, my Martin. This is my baby.
That's a beautiful.
This is what
guitar.
I write everything on. My Martin. But I mean, I love B3 organ. I really do. I wish I was better than I am, but I mean, I love B3, and that's what I played when I was a kid, and so I really. In fact, today, my wife and I were talking about. I was talking about how the greatness of Deep Purple and some of the stuff that they did was what inspired me to do what I did, and then my hero Ken Hensley from Uriah Heep. That's who I met and sent songs to, and he ended up liking what I did and took me to England. And Uriah Heep ended up recording some of my songs because of that relationship. And it was all about my love for that kind of music and my determination to want to do it. And again, it was, well, we can't take your wife and daughter, but we can take you, and you'll have to keep a long distance relationship. So you have to make a decision now. Do you want to come to England and work with us or not? Because we can't do everything. And I made that choice to go there. And
was it? I mean, it's a tough choice.
Oh, it was because I knew that would probably be the end of that relationship, but it wasn't actually. I brought her to England with me and my daughter. They paid for her to come over and visit me, so it wasn't the end. But I had to make that choice then, not knowing what the unknown was.
That blind leap of faith.
Exactly.
So you said you're right, because your everything started with you, I guess, with the Who, and then your work ethic, your songwriting skills, just your reputation kind of preceded you in everything that you did, because that's definitely not the end of the story, because you mentioned Uriah Heep a lot. You did a lot of stuff with Uriah Heep. I mean, they got 4 songs on the books with your name on it.
I wouldn't say that they defined me. I think the person that made me who I am today, or at least put the wheels in motion to the kind of man I am today, was Richie Havens. Oh. Because Richie and I met Richie before I met the Who. I met Richie. Richie was the first person I met, and he had done Woodstock and played Here Comes the Sun, and he was that
Holy
guy.
Shit. He was the guy that did a 1 hour set that took 3 hours.
Right. Stop the rain at Woodstock.
Yep.
And I knocked on his door for hours till I finally met him. And then when I met him, we became the best of friends. But what he did was he taught me. I was this young, arrogant, I want to be the biggest, baddest person. But he taught me how to be real and honest and sincere to people and humble and just be good, but do your music, but don't treat people like crap on the way there.
Don't be an asshole.
So he taught me he gave me those, and so did Ken Hensley. I mean, they gave me those insides how to treat people, which I'm not sure that a lot of artists nowadays get those kind of lessons. I think they learn how to sing. I think they learn how to write songs. I'm not sure they learn how to be an artist.
I mean, I guess we can go back and forth with what's popular now isn't what's necessarily good as far as, good music by the definition of good music. I've got a lot of appreciation for singer-songwriters who can just they lay their feelings down and you can feel the music, and you'll turn on the radio and it's not necessarily, there's some songs that are very, very good and you can feel the song, but man, it's not like it used to be. I love listening to old Blackfoot music, and you can feel all of that music. Uriah Heep was awesome. They were kind of like the Dream Theater of the 70s. You can feel that music. Not so much anymore.
There's some stuff you can. I think there's always, you can always find good in everything. Or you can find bad in everything. I mean, I think there's some stuff out there that's really good. I don't listen to a lot of radio anymore because not because I don't think there's good music out there. I just rather listen to a book on tape than I would music, because I've got music in my head that I'm doing. But sometimes I put music on there. We have music in the barn playing all the time, and I'll go out there sometimes and I'll hear a song and go, man, that's pretty good, you know. I won't know who it is. I'll Shazam it and go, whoa, so that's what he sounds like. And I get lucky and I hear some good stuff. It's all, I think the only thing about today that's different than then is today everything is so perfect. Everything is perfect. Everything is cut perfect. Everything is exactly perfect. Back then, they just did it by feeling, you know. I mean, even the Allman Brothers, Blackfoot. I mean, there was no auto tuning or none of that stuff back then. I mean, it was, you either did it right or you didn't, but there was mistakes in everything.
I like it when you can hear the idiosyncrasies of either he was a little bit flat on that, or she was a little sharp on that, or man, they really didn't hit that note right, but the song is just absolutely great. Tell me about some of the other bands. I mean, Uriah Heep is really big, and I really want to come back, because your song, your story doesn't stop at Uriah Heep. It actually goes much, much, much further, because there's a gentleman that I see your videos, and there's a guitarist, Adam Box, playing some guitars in your videos. Mick Box was the lead guitarist for Uriah Heep. Is this his son?
No, but that's weird. You know, that's interesting. I never had those two things put together. That's interesting. I'll have to tell Adam that. Adam was actually the drummer for Brothers Osborne, the band that's won all these awards recently. They're great, great, great. Now those guys are great. I mean, they're great songwriters. They're great players. They deserve every award they've got. But Adam's been their drummer since day one, and we met, and he wanted to produce me, and he's half my age, at least. But he grew up. His dad was like me. He listened to Skinner, and he played. His dad was in the band. He was the lead guitar player in the band, and he played all the Skinner stuff. And he played all that stuff. So Adam got all that education. And so when we went to work together, he played so much. He just didn't do drums. He played the guitar. You're right. He played the guitars. He played keys. I mean, the guy did everything, and he directed the video for Wonderful World. I mean, he is a talented guy, and has a great career in front of him. I wish I had been that talented at that age.
You know, a lot of people are, but they just don't pursue it because they're like, meh. You know, there's
right.
So many people that are famous. It's like being, you know, you start playing football because you like playing football, but the chances of being in the NFL are slim to none. You know, it's that 0.5% that make it, or less.
Right.
So what?
Yeah, I said something the other day about that. I said something to somebody about the fact that I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that when you're a teenager, you know what your calling is. You just don't know how to follow that. And then when you get in your 20s, the calling is really staring you at the face, and you go, why do I like doing this? And you don't know why you like doing it, but you like doing it. And so, I mean, if you want to be, for example, if you like medicine and you wanted to be a doctor or a nurse, and you find yourself working in a hospital, and you go, man, I just really love working around these patients. I really love doing this. And then suddenly you find yourself in college and going to medical school, and suddenly you become this doctor. I think that is something. I've got a 18-year-old son that's going to be a scientist, and I've watched him from I've watched him from the beginning, and right around 12 or 13, he started doing this stuff that had to do with science, and followed that all the way to now. And he didn't know then that he wanted to be a scientist now, but he does. And I believe that you always kind of have an inkling of what you want to be. You just don't know that that's what's calling you. And
you're pushed and pulled, and teachers are going to push and pull you in one direction. Mom and dad are going to push and pull you in another direction. But it's really ultimately up to the kid. What do I want to do?
Well, look at you. I mean, look at what you're doing. Mm-hmm. For example, you're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Now, if I may be so bold, like when you were a teenager, what were you doing?
I was wanting to be, well, I played football. I love football. I wanted to be a football star. I did realize that wasn't going to happen. I ended up at the end of high school talking to guidance counselors, and they're just like, you might as well just join the military. And I ended up doing that after even, I graduated high school. I went to go work at an auto shop. And I'm just like, this is enough. I applied for loans and stuff to go to college. Wasn't working out. So I ended up joining the military, and that was the best. But you
must have been doing something all along that way where you talk to people.
Oh, yeah. But I never.
Because you're doing this podcast now, you must have always done something to where you were always talking to people about something. And that there was that thing, whether it was your four little buddies when you were 14 years old and you were the center of it, talking about, I think this, and I think, there's always something you can go back to and go, man, I was doing this back then. It may not be what you're doing today,
yeah,
but it was a piece of what you were doing. Even in the military, I bet you would talk to people then.
I haven't thought about this in years, and you're absolutely correct. I would pay attention to, I would go to, because I did go to college a little bit in the Army. I would love to go to lectures and speeches and presentations. And I really like listening to talk radio and hearing people talk about things and stuff and being knowledgeable about these things, whether it's politics or environment or whatever. And I guess I do like talking. It's not, I still get butterflies on my stomach. It's kind of like, you get butterflies in your stomach before you go on stage. But I do like to talk.
Same thing.
Yeah. I do like to talk. So you're absolutely right.
It. Yeah. You just have to think about what you did back then, and you have to go back and go, man, I remember me and Joey and Bobby and Tom, and I would always ask him, what do you think? What made you, how come you go back then and you'll follow it. There'll be that, what you're doing now, you'll find back then, just like when I was playing in a band and I was playing guitar in a band and singing. I think the very first song I ever sang in a band was Little Black Egg. And I sang Little Black Egg, and then I went from there to singing All My Lovin' by the Beatles, and the next song I sang was Painted Black, Rolling Stones. Those three songs were the songs I sang when I was a baby, a kid. And yet now, if you look at what I write, it's dark as that. So there must have been something back then that made me do what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm. So you graduated out of Uriah Heep's era in the 70s, and then you just went. You came back to the States after the UK, and went down into Florida. Did you were influenced by the Southern rock scene?
I'd become friends with Ronnie Van Zant and Alan Collins and Gary Rosington, and we had become really good friends over in England because they had played Nebworth, and I was over there working at Uriah Heep, and I knew who they were, and I wanted to hang out with them, and we all hung up. We became just great friends, and at Nebworth is when we really became great friends, or a couple nights before Nebworth, and we hung out, do a whole thing, and then after Nebworth, which was 1976, I believe, and they came back home and came back to England and played the Rainbow Theater in 1977, I believe.
Mhm.
And I came back and hung out with them, and we were just the best of friends. And
Did you do any songwriting with Ronnie?
no, but Ronnie loved what I did, but he gave me some great advice back then about what I was doing, and there was no writing time back at those days. They were playing and being Skinnered, but Ronnie suggested, I was telling him, I was living in Atlanta, and I said, man, I don't like Atlanta no more. And why don't you move to Jacksonville? So I moved. When I came home last time, I moved to Jacksonville, and we went bass fishing, and we hung out, and I hung out with Gary, and Gary and I really became close, Alan, and I had to go back to England and finish working with Uriah Heep. And that was when the plane crashed, and that was the last time I saw Ronnie. And then I came straight back home, and I spent a lot of time with Gary and Alan during their recuperation. And then I started playing around town, around Jacksonville. I needed something to do. So I started playing. Richie had taught me how to play by myself on stage. I had opened up for him. And so I started playing around town, and I ended up opening for people like Ted Nugent and stupid stuff like that. I mean, and doing that. And that was when I finally had to make a decision of what I was going to do with my career, because I was a songwriter, but I couldn't be a songwriter in Jacksonville, Florida. And so I had met Dickie Betts, and he suggested that I move to Nashville, where songwriters live. And so I did.
And the rest is history.
Sort of.
I mean, because right now, I've got pictures of you with B.B. King, Merle Haggard. My gosh. Of course, the picture of you with Ronnie. And, who else is in there?
That's my daughter with Ronnie. That picture that you have with Ronnie, that's my daughter, Crystal. That was right before the show at Rainbow Theater.
Wow.
And she was like 2 years old. And it was right before the show.
So you went to Nashville. You went to Nashville for the sole purpose of writing music? How hard was it for you to like find inroads? What I was
supposed to do. I mean, you're a songwriter. Go to Nashville. So I went to Nashville. I came here, and Dickie's manager, Dickie had his manager make some phone calls to help me out, and got some some meetings with some publishers, and they didn't like it. And these songs were on Gold Records, and I mean they thought I was terrible. I mean, seriously. I mean, broke my heart. I mean, serious to the point where, what do you call this crap? And it was like, well, I thought it was, it's on Gold Records. I mean, I work with everybody in England, all these big stars. No, you ain't worth a dang here.
Did your reputation kind of precede you? Just like, hey man, check out Jack. He's got some good stuff.
No, they didn't like it. They said that kind of music that I was writing in England was terrible, was not country music. No, there's nothing. There's only one kind of music, and that's country music. And that ain't country. And you ain't a writer, and you are not a songwriter. But now if you want to be one, we'll help you be one.
They didn't flush you down the toilet right away. They're just like, hey, you're good enough to maybe follow some instructions. So they hooked you up with Oak Ridge Boys.
Steve Earle, Dave Gibson. Dave Gibson and Jimbo Henson. That was the two guys that they hooked me up with. And that particular publishing company was incredible publishing company. At that time, it was Steve Earle, Dave Gibson, Jimbo Henson, Larry Willoughby, and Tony Brown, who produced George Strait, and me. And I was told to keep my mouth shut and work with Dave Gibson and Jimbo Henson, and that was it. And Jimbo just passed away about a month ago. But we wrote 2 songs immediately that the Oak Ridge Boys recorded, that he wrote the words to and I wrote the music to, and I understood what they were talking about. And I said, well, I want to learn how to do that too. I mean, there's merit to what he's doing. I mean, I love the way they write lyrics. It's way beyond what I was doing. I need to learn that too. And so I dove in and tried to learn that too.
Because it's more than poetry. I mean, to sit down and write lyrics to something that probably...
To country music, writing great lyrics to country music is all about painting a picture with words, as opposed to feelings. Rock music is all about writing words about your feelings. I want to make love to you. I am so brokenhearted because you busted my heart. Where country music is all about, there's a painting on the wall that shows that little nickel on the table that I spent buying that cup of coffee for you. It's all about that kind of stuff. And I had to learn how to write those little pictures to go with the feelings that I had felt. And that was really hard for me because I was far from being intellectual. So I had to really struggle to do that.
But you rose to the occasion because they didn't kick you out. You're still in Nashville.
I did my best.
So do you have a preference? Do you prefer singing, composing, or songwriting?
Songwriting.
Songwriting is your wheelhouse. That is your go-to.
Yes.
So after your...
But I've learned to love in the last couple of years. I've learned to love to try to sing what I'm writing, which I had never done before, except with early days with Richie Havens.
Because he took you to New York to, I guess, he tutored you?
He took me to England, had me open up a bunch of concerts for him.
Nice.
He taught me how to do that. And he wanted me to write, he wanted me to sing he wanted me to be what I am today back then. And if I had done that, if I had stuck with that, maybe the path would be different. But I didn't. I decided I wanted to be a songwriter as opposed to an artist because I didn't think I was good enough of a singer. I still don't think I'm good enough a singer, but there's something about my voice that people seem to like. So I'm following that path.
What made you take a break from music and decide to go work on a boat?
Because I had a publishing deal in Nashville, and it was a really good deal. I was working for Larry Butler. He had just produced Kenny Rogers, The Gambler, and I was one of his songwriters. He had a stable of songwriters, and I was signed with him. And it was a great time in my life. I had written with Jim McBride, who wrote Chattahoochee, and I was writing with all these great writers. And then Larry sold a company, and it ended up being bought by another company from LA. And when they came in to Nashville, they came in with a bang, and they sat down with all the writers, and they said, we've got our own writers from LA, and we're just not going to, you guys, we're going to finish out your contracts and cut you loose. And at that time in my life, I was, wild and crazy and stupid and doing a lot of partying and didn't give two hoots about it. And it really pissed me off. And I didn't understand what they were doing. And all I saw was they're throwing me to the dirt. They're being mean to me. And that's all I could see. And I said, I'm out of here. I'm leaving Nashville. I don't want no part of Nashville ever again. And I went out to Seattle and got back to my cooking because I just felt like I needed to get away from music. But it was only a matter of months before I was back writing music again while I was cooking.
So what'd you do on the boat? You ran kitchen crews?
Yeah, I started on tugboats in Alaska, and then I went on research ships. That's where I met my wife.
Nice.
I was working on a ship called the Atlantis that carried around a little submarine called Alvin,
Mhm.
and that team had done some big things in the world. I guess they had discovered Titanic, and my wife that I'm married to, she was a scientist, and we would pick up these groups of scientists and take them out for 45 days, and they would do all this deep sea stuff, and I met her on that ship at that period of time. And then fast forward, we got married, and I kept working. And then I wanted, just like I think everything else that I do, I always wanted something bigger, and I wanted to get to the top of things. And it seemed like the top of things was these great cargo ships. So I joined the union and started working on these cargo ships, and ended up on a ship that was military owned, but crewed by civilians, taking war supplies to Kuwait for the Gulf War, and I ended up working on that ship. And we ended up getting attacked by Scud missiles, and I ended up saying, I think I need to go back to songwriting, and not doing that.
But not before getting the what was it, the Presidential Medal of Freedom?
Well, we all did on that ship because we were civilians that worked on that military vessel that was attacked. But it was great memories of that, you know.
You've got a lifetime full of great memories, because it's like you don't know quit, because you went back into the songwriting thing, and now all of a sudden you're hooked up with Kevin Costner doing songwriting for Yellowstone. I think folks have heard of that. That's like the biggest thing on Paramount.
Well, I don't think I'm songwriting for Yellowstone. I think I've written a song that got into Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of that. But, I mean, there are other things that come out of that, and I'm so grateful for that. But, yeah, I mean, there's more to come. But I think what you just said right there a few minutes ago, I've never heard it put quite that way, but that is exactly it. I don't know quit. And I think that I'll never know quit. People ask me all the time, what do I feel about what do I tell people that are getting started or whatever? And I think that's the end of if you quit, it's over. Whether it's a job, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a friendship, whether it's your dreams. When you say I quit and you're done, then it's over. As long as you don't quit, there's a chance that it might keep going. And I still, in my mind, in my heart, I'm still that 22-year-old guy with the future still in front of him. And as far as I'm concerned, I haven't accomplished anything. I want the next thing that happens, and I think that's what keeps me going. Is that I still want to. I haven't quit. I'm not going to.
Never quit. Night Stalkers never quit.
No.
And there's always an opportunity to learn, and it seems like the longer you stay in the industry, there's always you probably go into the studio and there's always something. Maybe it's very, very small. Sometimes maybe it might be very, very large. You learn something, a trick, a mindset, just a way of thinking about things that just makes you do things differently, or gives you an option.
You know what I've done? You know what I'm doing right now? I have masterclass. I gave my wife masterclass for Christmas, and because I gave my wife masterclass for Christmas, I got to have it too. And so something came up yesterday. I know it sounds silly. I know it sounds stupid, but Mariah Carey just started a masterclass for vocalists. And I started that yesterday. Probably won't do anything, but the fact that I wanted to do it and listen to what she has to say, You can learn from everybody.
Jack,
You know, I just learned
Jack,
how
I
to
want
do a
to, I
TikTok
want to hit
video.
you. I want to hear you hit that high B or whatever her high
Never
note.
Never happened. But I love her ideas on how to make those things happen.
So you got a ton of guitars back there. Do you want to play us a song, maybe?
Oh man, why don't you play a song off my record?
I did. I played Wonderful World. That was such a great video. I love that video a lot.
I do too. I love that video. I really do.
It was so
It's
well
really-
done. It was very well done. Not just the vocals were great, but the video behind the vocals was great. You just sitting at the...
That's Adam Box.
Oh, that's so
That's
good.
Adam again. Adam came up with that idea. It was right before, you know, remember when we were doing, when the world was getting ready to go crazy?
Which time?
No, right before the, you know, when we were voting last year,
Yeah.
and they stormed the Capitol.
Yes, yeah, January 6th.
Adam said, we need to make that video Wonderful World.
Mm.
And we need to make it so it's like, it's a wonderful, no, it's not.
But
Maybe it is.
yeah.
No, I don't think so. Yes, it is. No, it might not be. And then we ended it with, yes, it is. And that's how that whole thing got put together.
Do you have a problem talking with other songwriters? Is there a competition between songwriters? You have a pool of songwriters doing things. When you're writing songs for somebody, or do you walk past a songwriter going, oh, I don't like that guy? Is there a professional static between y'all at all?
Not for me.
No?
No, I like what I like and I don't like what I don't like, but I don't like I can't say I don't like that guy if I don't know him.
Right.
Why would I do that? You know what I mean? If I know somebody, I mean, I try to like everybody, and I try to find the good and everything. And when I see people succeeding at something, and I'm not, I try to find out what they did that I didn't.
Have you ever done work with Ward Davis? He's in Nashville, isn't he?
Oh yeah. Oh, Ward and I, great question. Ward, Rick Huckabee, and I we wrote, oh my God, 2 or 3 songs together. And I remember Ward is responsible for me knowing W. Earl Brown, because when I was working with Ward and W. Earl were really good friends. And I wanted to meet, I was like in awe of W. Earl Brown. Deadwood, good God. I was like, I want to meet W. Earl Brown. So Ward introduced me to him. And I hounded W. Earl and hounded him for a year to write with me. And we finally did. And I finally went out to California and I met with him and we wrote Beat Me Again. It's on my record.
Oh, that is such a goosebump.
And that video.
That's a
So
goosebump
W. Earl
video.
and I were sitting at Bob's Big Boy. I just met him. I had physically we had been talking for a year on email, but I had physically just met him. And okay, Jack, tell me your story. And I told him my childhood story. And we went back to his place and he wrote that. He wrote the lyric. He just went zip, and I wrote the music, zip. And that became Beat Me Again. And then last year he called me up. He said, I think we need to do a video of Beat Me Again for all the abused children. And we did. And that's that video that's out. And W. Earl directed it, co-wrote it with me, but that was all
Most
because
people
of
have things
Ward
like
Davis.
this. Actually,
Without Ward Davis, that relationship would have never happened.
Beat Me Again is such it's chilling. It's goosebump worthy, definitely.
Yeah,
and
I think
that's you.
Yeah, that was my life.
Who is the female vocalist in that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just lost my thought. Let's come back to that.
Okay. So Beat Me Again is just a song about your childhood, and the video is chilling in so much as you're standing in the graveyard where your father is buried.
That was the whole point, was because that was what the song was about. It was about going back to the graveyard and talking to my dad in my mind about W. Earl's version of it was forgiveness. My version of it was there was no forgiveness.
It was more spite. It was just like pfft.
It was, for me, it was spite.
Yeah.
But W. Earl wanted it to be forgiveness. And we the day we shot it, we had that discussion. He walked me out to the side. He said, "Now you got to forgive him." And I said, "Well, I can't forgive him. I can't." And I'm okay. Well, you do what you got to do. And I said, "I'm not never forget. There's no forgiveness here. There'll never be no forgiveness." And so that's his version was forgiveness, and mine was, "No, you're just never going to beat me again."
No, here's the story, and this is the end. And
Right.
I fucking appreciate that song. That's really it's not my personal experience, but I feel every note of that song.
Every time I play it out, I always find somebody that's been abused, that I'll come up to me after that and say, "I don't know how you pulled that out of me." But I'm not afraid to talk about it. I'm not afraid to talk about that kind of stuff. That's what I want to do. Somebody's got to give these kids a voice. I mean, somebody has to do it. And if you can't be afraid to say that, if you're going to give something a voice, you can't be afraid to say it happened to you, regardless of what it was. You can't be afraid. And that's what I'm trying to do anyway.
So that song did absolutely give me goosebumps. Is there a song out there right now that you listen to that gives you goosebumps or that hits you in the heart?
Today's music or anywhere?
Anywhere.
Yeah, probably Desperado.
Eagles? Don Henley.
Yeah, Don Henley's my favorite songwriter in the world. So
he's so
probably
good.
Desperado,
He's very good.
Or Waste of Time, probably. And one of the greatest songs I've ever heard.
So you've been doing a lot of songwriting for like radio. You write songs that will or maybe will not be on radio. Do you find it different writing songs for film? Is there a different process in that, or do you just pour your soul out?
Oh, the difference is you can be real. The difference in writing what I'm doing now is I can actually tell the real story. I can actually say what I'm thinking and what I'm really feeling about something, and not be afraid of saying, writing for radio, you have a box.
Oh yeah.
And you have red flags, and you can't say this, or you can't do this, or you can't do this. And that's all well and good. That's great. But that's commercial music. That's like the difference between making tuxedos and making plaid shirts. I mean, it's a difference. One is one thing, one is the other. But writing now, what I do is I just get to sit down, and if I'm feeling something about a memory, I get to write that real story.
Are you approached? So how? Walk me through how your relationship with Yellowstone is. Do they say write a song about this, or they like what you wrote and they're going to put that in like a background? Your song is in the background during this scene.
You just write songs and send them out.
Okay.
They have a music supervisor, and she's been the music supervisor for Yellowstone since the beginning, and she's one of the biggest music supervisors in the world. But she's doing that project, and you just send her your songs, and she knows what the director wants, and she knows where he wants it, And if just by chance you get lucky and she goes, I think this song works in this scene,
This fits.
it lands there.
Yeah.
But you can't write. I don't think you can, unless you get a brief, unless you get a brief from your publisher or a director that says, we need a song that's written about this particular thing.
Yeah.
Then you can write. But writing for film and TV, I think you just write the best song you can and send it out there, and be smart. I mean, if you don't send a dark song to a lighthearted film, but you don't send a lighthearted song to a dark film. Just be smart and hope that it lands in the right place, the right time. It's still all about luck.
I think the entire music industry is about luck and right place, right time, and knowing the right people. I think knowing the right people gives you an up, at least, at the very least.
It helps.
It does.
It helps. I think a friend of mine, one of my earliest publishers ever, Bobby Cottle, said something to me that I'll never forget. He said that the music business and the film business and everything was like two wheels, two spokes. And this is you, and this is the business. And he said, it's going like this. This is your song, or you're acting, or whatever. And this is the business, and it's going like this. And he says, and then one day, suddenly it goes like this. And when that happens, something happens for you. And it goes back again, and it keeps doing that until it connects. And when it connects, you're in, and you're in for the amount of time it's connected, and you do your best to keep it connected while it's there. And then it keeps going. And I think that's a good way of putting it.
So what do you have coming up on the horizon? You've got an album, an EP, a re-release of an EP?
Oh, I want to go back to one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, you asked me the question, and I wasn't expecting it. So the girl that sang on Beat Me Again is an incredible artist. Her name is Brandy Zidane. And Brandy is a rock star in her own right. She had so many, she's an independent, she's like a guitar slinger, songwriter. And she had already cut one of my songs called Runaway. And I was looking for somebody to do a duet with me, but I needed somebody that had the roughness that could, I had this darkness, and I needed somebody that could complement that. And Brandy was that person. And that's who sang that song with me. It was Brandy Zdan. You just asked me so quick. I was trying to think what you said, and I couldn't remember.
Sorry. I'm trying to pull up your video, and I'm going to play that to close out the show here just in a second. But man, her vocals are so good. She was so good in the video too, because she was just as straight on as, and we both had been through similar things in our lives. You were both very stoic, and she was acting. You were not. That was you. But yeah, it was so good. Please continue.
No, I think that, no, I'm not sure she was acting. I think Brandy was doing something from the heart.
And it was great. So what do you have coming up in the future? I mean, what are you guys doing next week?
I've got a new video getting ready to come out called One More Day, which is off the record, that Kevin Costner and Adam Box and I wrote. And one of Kevin's close friends and directors, Mark Gillard, directed on the video. Went out to California about a month ago and did it. And it's also going to have Gary Rosington from Leonard Skinner playing guitar in it. And I'm really looking forward to that video coming out. It's going to be out in about a month.
So tell us your social media stuff. I mean, you're on Instagram. You are on Facebook, but not so much?
Oh, yeah. H. Jack Williams. I'm hjackwilliamsmusic.com on everything. And H. Jack Williams on Instagram and Facebook.
I definitely look forward to seeing just everything else that you do. It's amazing because there's songs that you enjoy. You hear a song on the radio and you enjoy it. But very rarely does anybody go, who wrote that song? and everyone assumes like, hey, it's whoever Vince Neil wrote all of his songs. No, there's songwriters involved, and you're the man behind the curtain.
Some of them. That's what got me started. That was the thing that got me started, because I was a kid. I thought everybody that you heard, I thought they all wrote their own songs. It wasn't until way late. I mean, I was in my 20s before I found out that somebody else wrote that guy's song. I didn't know that everybody had written there was a business of songwriting. And that's when I decided I wanted to be part of that business.
I mean, dude, Greg Allman, right?
Just Before the Bullets Fly.
Oh, I love that song. I've loved that song for a very long time, and until yesterday, I had no idea that there were people behind the writing of this awesome music, and you're that guy.
One of them.
There's probably a whole bunch, but I mean, did you sit down with Greg and go, hey man, cracking a beer and go, hey, what do you think about this line? How does that work? How does that process work?
No, I didn't write it with Greg. I wrote it with Warren Haynes.
Okay.
It was Government Mule, and it was Greg's guitar player at the time, and Warren and I wrote it, and with John Jaworowitz, who's no longer here, but we wrote that song about 3:00 in the morning, and he played it for Greg, and Greg loved it and cut it, and then it became a part of a movie with Lou Diamond Phillips and Kiefer Sutherland called Renegades, and then Sun Seals cut it, and Coco Montoya cut it. It's been a big blues song, and for me, it's been one of the best songs of my career.
It's a great song. It is a great song. I love that you had made time to spend some time with us here on the WTF Nation platform here,
Thank
man.
you.
I wish you all the best success with whatever you're going to do. I
for
can't.
having me.
Oh yeah, anytime. If you got something new coming out, man, just shoot us a message. We'll definitely push it out. I thank you very much.
When the video comes out, I'll let you know. We'll talk about that. That'll be fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you for your service. Even though it was about 40 years ago ish.
There it is.
I
got that when I was 17 years old, still in Fayetteville, North Carolina. My USMC Bulldog tattoo.
Oh, Vietnam.
Hoorah.
Outstanding, man. Again, Jack, thank you very much. And
thank you.
Love to you and your family, and I wish you all the success in the world, man. I can't wait to see more. This is just the beginning. And you even said that you're just now starting to hit your stride. So it's going to go further.
I appreciate it.
Everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. That was Jack Williams. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe that we got to talk to that man. This is awesome. So if you love music, you hear a song on the radio, or if you're a part of Team Old like I am, learn who wrote that music. It's not just the band that you listen to. So please, everybody, just research your music and figure out who puts in a lot of the grunt work. And, Jack said he wanted to be a grunt, so now he's a grunt in the music industry, writing all the good stuff. Thank you all for being here, and I'm gonna do an outro, and then I'm gonna play. Beat me again. Wow, this is such a good song, good video. Anyway, you can tune in to all of our shows. Monday is a Monday edition. Tuesday is Pop Culture Warrior. Thursday is Sergeant's Time, and Friday is Friday Night Freedom. I'm going to take a break for the next 2 weeks because my job is taking me to other places. I have to do my job in other places, so I cannot do a broadcast. And thank you all for being here. Love you all, and we're out.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
This is WTF Nation Radio.
My friend came to the door. She said, well, I was on the phone cooking me and my baby some breakfast. And she said, hey, something wrong. It's popping. I said, what? She said, yeah. I said, no. So the girl come downstairs. She come out her apartment with her baby with no shoes on. I said, oh, girl, it's cold outside. She said, something ain't right. I said, oh, man. She said, oh, man, the building is on fire. I said, no, what? I got my 3 kids and we bounced out. We ain't gonna be in no fire, not today.
The Voice Slave.